It was Christmas night, 1996. A 6-year-old beauty queen, tucked away in her family's luxurious Colorado mansion, would never see the morning sun. Hours later, a frantic 911 call reported her missing. A ransom note was found, scrawled across 3 pages, and by the following afternoon, her lifeless body was discovered in the basement of her own home. The case of JonBenét Ramsey is not just another unsolved crime. It is a chilling blend of contradictions, bizarre evidence, and haunting questions that, even after decades, refuses to give us closure. Did a kidnapper truly slip into that Boulder mansion, or was the horror born within the very walls of her home? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you might realize why the JonBenét Ramsey case has become one of the most disturbing mysteries in American history. The story begins in Boulder, Colorado, December 26, 1996. JonBenét Ramsey, a 6-year-old girl with blonde curls and a pageant crown, was the pride of her wealthy family. Her father, John Ramsey, was a successful businessman. Her mother, Patsy Ramsey, was a former beauty queen who poured her ambitions into her daughter's pageant career. On the surface, they were a picture-perfect American family. But behind the Christmas lights and glittering trophies, something went horribly, irreversibly wrong. At 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey called 911. Her voice was panicked, telling dispatchers that her daughter had been kidnapped. The police arrived at the Ramsey mansion within minutes. They found Patsy and John distraught, neighbors and friends already inside, and a ransom note placed conspicuously on the staircase. The note demanded $118,000 for JonBenét's safe return, a strangely specific number, almost identical to John Ramsey's Christmas bonus that year. Even stranger, the note was unusually long, nearly 3 pages, filled with dramatic language and movie-like phrases such as, "Don't try to grow a brain, John." For investigators, the contradictions began immediately. Experts later concluded the note had likely been written inside the house, using a pen and notepad belonging to the Ramseys. Handwriting analysis was inconclusive, but it strongly suggested Patsy could not be eliminated as the writer. And here's where the mystery deepens. If JonBenét was kidnapped, why would the intruder waste time writing a lengthy ransom note inside the victim's home? Why demand such a precise and oddly personal sum of money? It was as if the note was staged. But staged by whom and why? For hours, the house was chaotic. Police searched, but the scene wasn't tightly secured. Friends and neighbors came and went. Potential evidence was trampled. Around 1 p.m., Detective Linda Arndt asked John Ramsey to search the home again. Within minutes, he went down into the basement and came back carrying the lifeless body of his daughter, wrapped in a white blanket. JonBenét had duct tape over her mouth and a garrote fashioned from cord and a broken paintbrush handle around her neck. She had suffered a skull fracture and signs of strangulation. The image was devastating, but also bewildering. Why had John Ramsey, a distraught father, been able to immediately find the body that police had missed all morning? And why did he carry her upstairs, contaminating what was now the central crime scene? From that day forward, the investigation split into 2 competing theories. One insisted that someone broke into the house and killed JonBenét. The other pointed to the possibility that someone inside the Ramsey home was responsible, and the ransom note was a cover-up. Both sides had evidence. Both sides had glaring holes, and both sides fueled decades of public obsession. Supporters of the intruder theory point to a broken basement window as the likely entry point. DNA was later found on JonBenét's clothing that did not match any family member. Some experts believe the garrote was too sophisticated for a child or untrained adult to construct. Additionally, the Ramseys had hosted a Christmas party the night before. Was it possible someone slipped inside the house and waited? Or that JonBenét had been targeted by a stalker obsessed with her child beauty pageant appearances? Yet, critics argue the basement window was dusty and undisturbed. And if a kidnapper really planned the crime, why leave a ransom note when the victim was already dead? Then there's the family theory, the one that made national headlines. Patsy, John, or even their 9-year-old son Burke were suspected at various times. Some believe JonBenét may have died accidentally, perhaps during a family conflict, and the elaborate ransom note and staging were meant to cover it up. Patsy's handwriting was considered a possible match. Burke, though only a child, was rumored to have been jealous or quick-tempered. But there was never definitive evidence. No fingerprints on the weapon, no eyewitnesses, and no confession. Theories swirled, but nothing stuck. The case exploded into a media circus. Headlines painted the Ramseys as villains one day, victims the next. Television cameras camped outside their mansion. Talk shows dissected every scrap of evidence. The American public became jurors in an endless trial by media. And in the process, real answers seemed to drift further and further away. In 2008, prosecutors formally cleared the Ramseys after DNA testing pointed away from the family. But not everyone was convinced. DNA evidence can be transferred, and critics argue the samples were too small and inconclusive. Patsy Ramsey passed away in 2006, never seeing her daughter's killer brought to justice. Burke Ramsey, now an adult, has spoken publicly, but always under the shadow of suspicion he insists is unfounded. John Ramsey, too, still demands justice. And yet, here we are. Nearly 3 decades later. Still no arrest. Still no closure. The JonBenét Ramsey case remains one of the most haunting crimes in modern American history. A little girl's life ended in horror on Christmas night, her case drowning in contradictions and unanswered questions. So what really happened in the Ramsey mansion that night? Was it the work of a shadowy intruder, or something darker within the family's perfect facade? Maybe we'll never know. But one thing is certain. JonBenét Ramsey's name will forever echo as a reminder that some mysteries refuse to die.